Good morning, I'm Jim Stratman. Thanks for joining us. We're waiting for those impeachment hearings to start back up, and when they do, we'll join them in progress.
We've had people coming out here just because they saw us on the air and they wanted to come out and support the Toy Town Drive. And I'm looking through some of these boxes and I'm seeing things like, oh, it looks like we got a little squirt gun in here. We got a basketball back here. I mean, the toy options are endless. Now, the fire may have destroyed the building, but it didn't destroy the business. Owners say they plan to stay open and they won't be too hard to find. In fact, they're going to be right next door.
Now, the Guns lead the overall series 6-5, but the hoses are coming out and they're looking for a fight. A woman accused of stealing money from a grieving family is expected back in court today. Caroline Rich is facing charges of 3 counts of theft and 3 counts of fraud. New health ratings are out for the tri-state hospitals. Methodist Hospital improving their rating from an F to a C in the Leapfrog Group's latest safety grades.
Thank you, Byron. I think I speak for just about everybody saying that I'd rather have a white Christmas than a wet Christmas.
Well, yeah, some people do, but if you're traveling.
Ready?
So we go 5, 6, 7, 8, step 1, jump 2, step 3. That's it. Yeah.
We were able to speak with a couple who were inside the building when it caught fire this morning. They were on the first floor, and they said when they woke up to a knocking on their window and smoke filling their room. They opened the door and they just ran. We're continuing to learn more and more information and the impact of this water main break. As you can see behind me, crews are still working to drain this pit so they can get down and take a look at the water main pipe. But in the meanwhile, while they are doing that, a system-wide boil advisory has been put in place for everybody on the Madisonville Water District.
Step out from behind the wall.
To snap decision making.
We have 3 seconds to decide something that's going to get litigated for 3 years.
Now, citizens tell me that the main difference between the 2012 storm and yesterday's storm wasn't the damage. As you can see behind me, there is still plenty of damage to go around. Large trees down, roofs ripped off of houses, power lines knocked down as well. But the difference came in the scale of the storm and how much of the city it affected. I can confirm that neither myself nor Joe are wearing skates. We are planted firmly on the ice in our shoes, and we're much better for it. When you see the cops cycling for survivors support truck rolling into town, you get one picture. These 5 officers who lost their lives in the line of duty in this past year. But as you get closer, you can read some of the personalized messages about these officers, and you get a different picture. Authorities in Maine are investigating what caused an explosion that killed a fire captain and seriously hurt 7 others. It happened yesterday morning at a facility in Farmington. While firefighters were investigating a report of a gas smell, the building exploded. And you can see just the damage that it's caused at this point. Barrels strewn everywhere, siding coming down off of the rick house, and you can see the wooden beams as well. And the smell, the pungent smell of bourbon all throughout the air. Good morning, Dan and Shaylee. I'd like to introduce everybody to Daniel Hopper. He's an officer with the Mount Carmel Police Department, entering his 8th fight at Guns N' Hoses. He's 5-2 and looking to avenge a loss from 3 years ago. But this isn't a story about wins and losses. This is a story about Lila.
I have her name tattooed on my ribs, and after the fight, I'm pointing to that, showing that that's the reason that I do this.
9 years ago, Daniel Hopper wasn't a fighter. He was an officer and a first-time father.
So in 2010, my daughter Lila was born. She was born with spina bifida, and she needed to be born in Louisville, Kentucky, because she would have to have multiple surgeries immediately after birth.
The Hoppers received aid from charities while Lila was in the hospital. Many of them supported by 911 Gives Hope.
I'm going down the list. I'm like, yep, they helped me out, they helped me out, they helped me out. So I decided that I wanted to do this as a way of saying thank you to those different charities.
For 2 years, Daniel fought to say thank you. But in 2013, that reason changed. Lila had passed away.
I was trying to be convinced not to fight, and I told him I had to. To me, this is therapy. She would be down there with me, and she would just laugh and giggle every time I would punch the bag. I was very public and dedicated that fight to Lila. You know, nobody wants to lose, but if you do, you know, it's for a great cause. And I knew I wasn't going to lose that fight. I honestly didn't remember the fight until I went back and watched it. The emotions just took over. As soon as the fight was over, I knew that I'd won. And in the video, you can see me. I walk to the corner. I give Lila a fist bump, and I just say, "We did it."
Now, 6 years after Lila passed away, Daniel continues to fight. He fights to say thank you for the support he received. He fights for the families and the children who benefit from 911 Gives Hope. And he fights to remember. Daniel will be looking for win number 6 at Saturday night's event. He says his wife and his second daughter, Bria, will be there rooting him on. During a normal season on the Evansville riverfront, you'd have to go to the water. Now the water seems to be coming to you. The Ohio River level is just under 42 feet, which is the moderate flood level. Now you can already see the effects of those river levels on the rise. As you look behind me, this is Waterworks Road, and as you can tell, it is already completely underwater, and those river levels are expected to continue to rise.
From what we're seeing today, the water will probably come up at least 2 more feet. This will be about 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet lower than what it was last year.
Vanderburgh County EMA Director Cliff Weaver says the county has already had to close 17 roads as a result of high water.
We don't anticipate any new roads being closed. Those are pretty much annual occurrences. So we go by past practice and past floods. I'm hoping that if we don't get any more rain, probably in a week or so, it'll start dropping again. We were fortunate when it started, the river was at 22 feet. So we had a lot of volume that we could have added, and we did, a lot of rain. So the river's up. Hopefully it'll be moving out of here quickly in about a week.
Weaver says they've already had 1 call for a car stuck in water, and he hopes it's the last call they'll get.
Water's pretty dangerous, and the vehicles are not designed to float, so don't get in the water.
Reporting in Evansville, Jim Stratman, 14 News.
It's the collaboration with everybody. And I think any orchestral musician would tell you that that's kind of, it transcends yourself.
5 conductors, 5 performances, all open auditions to find the next conductor to wield this baton.
Through over 200 resumes that were submitted for the position, and then we viewed over 70 videos that our second round candidates submitted, and so we've done a lot of groundwork leading up to selecting these 5 who are conducting the Philharmonic this year.
Thomas Josenhans chairs the search committee and says that at this point, the musical ability is not what they're looking at.
So for 5th bar of 10, I'll give that 3, 4, or it ain't comes in on the 2. Let's go right at 10, please. 10.
Someone who's going to be a skilled musician and a qualified conductor, of course. I mean, those are the main skills that they really need to have, but they also need to be able to be a representative of the orchestra. They need to be someone who can embrace the mission of the orchestra and have a vision for what the orchestra's place is in the community. We actually asked that question of all the conducting candidates: what does it mean to be the face of the orchestra? I think it's the person who's most relatable.
Relatable to audience and ensemble, and a week to prove it.
I always kind of liken it to a blind date. You know, you're going to see if you have that spark, that connection with each other. You know, it's like kind of a two-way street in that sense, because you're going to see if you have that connection with the musicians. They're going to see if they have that connection with you.
And continue to ignite a love for music in Evansville. Jim Stratman, 14 News.